Now it's day 2 of testing in Bahrain. We can go live to Rachel Brooks, who's at the circuit. Very good morning to you, Rachel. There was more frustration for Red Bull on day 1, but what about the rest of the teams?
Yes, well, 14 laps was all Red Bull managed yesterday here in Bahrain. Another tough day, but Sebastian Vettel still had a smile on his face when we spoke to him at the end of the day. For the other teams, though, well, great day for Force India. They're also running that Mercedes engine, and Nico Hülkenberg topped the timesheets yesterday by the end of the day and managed 78 laps. They're looking at reliability and performance in that car this year. Very good day for them indeed. Now, I'll just let you know, we're here at the end of the pit lane. We've just had a red light. We are some 25 minutes into the session today, but Nico Rosberg, Jean-Eric Vergne and Esteban Gutierrez all went out on track at 9 o'clock, and Nico Rosberg stopped in the middle sector. The car's been brought back into the pits. The low loader lorry that brought it back is just going to pass me very, very shortly here, and we should have the green light for the cars to go again soon. I can see red right now, but when it does, you'll see them all pile out past me here at the end of the pit lane in Bahrain, and looking to get some good running today. Well, we saw some good running from Ferrari yesterday. Fernando Alonso second on the timesheets, 64 laps in that Ferrari, despite leaving under a plume of smoke first thing yesterday. That was just a bit too much oil in the car, and that burnt off quickly, and some good running from them. We'll speak to him later on today and find out just what he thinks of this 2014 car. And also Kevin Magnussen been impressing with his pace in that McLaren, and McLaren had another good day yesterday. 81 laps completed, a couple of small issues, they were resolved though, and a good day's running for McLaren. We'll hopefully hear from them later on today. And I've just bumped into Eric Boulier, in fact, their new racing director in the paddock, and we're hoping to catch a word with him later on as well.
Well, Mercedes had a few issues yesterday, Rachel, but they continue to look like the team to beat.
They do indeed. It was a brake issue yesterday. There's a new braking system this year which the drivers are having to get used to. It's called brake-by-wire, and we were talking to a couple of them yesterday who are finding it quite tricky to get a handle on this. And braking issues for Mercedes yesterday that they say they fixed. It was a small problem. Not too worried at the moment. They do look the team to beat. They seem to be a few steps ahead of everyone else right now in terms of performance and reliability in that car. But when we spoke to Lewis Hamilton last night, he was still trying to keep his cards close to his chest.
Very difficult to know where we are in terms of performance, but in terms of going the distance, we are there at the front.
Just finally from me then, is there any other competitor out there that you've taken notice of so far that you think, do you know what, they could have the beating of us?
It's just too early at the moment to say, you know, but the good thing is if you look at the timetable at the moment, it's all Mercedes at the top.
Lewis Hamilton there talking, and as I speak, the Sauber of Esteban Gutierrez goes past me, and this is the McLaren going past right now. Kevin Magnussen obviously having a great day yesterday. Jenson Button's looking forward to getting into that McLaren tomorrow and seeing what he can do around this circuit. But after her terrible season last season, they're really looking forward to better times ahead. And as I said before, we'll speak to their new racing director, Eric Boulier, hopefully later on today.
Thank you very much, Rachel. It's all getting exciting, isn't it, as we build up to the start.
That's day 2 of testing in Bahrain, and Rachel Brooks has the latest from the morning session.
Welcome back to Bahrain. I'm in the paddock here, one of the more scenic paddocks, I think we could say, on the Formula 1 calendar. David Croft joins me now from Sky Sports F1. It is one of the prettier paddocks, isn't it?
If you like your concrete, it's lovely, yes.
Palm trees, they're all lit up at night.
Yeah, no, I'll give you the palm trees, but on the ground, it's concrete as far as the eye can see.
But there's some flowers been put out as well. They've made an effort.
Trust you to notice the pretty things in life.
Anyway, let's get on to the pretty cars on track, although some of them pretty ugly at the front of them. Today, we've had the first time all 11 cars have been on track and set a lap time. We're making progress, but we're nearly at the halfway point of testing.
Yeah, you would hope that they're making progress, because as you say, you know, the end of today is the halfway point of winter testing, and if teams have not got a lap time on the board and have not made progress today, then I think they start to get a little bit concerned and a little bit worried as well. I was talking to the guys down at Marussia who had a day to forget yesterday. They only put in 3 laps and they suffered an IT problem. Whatever that encompasses, and it encompasses quite a lot in Formula 1, but it wasn't an issue with the car necessarily, it was an issue with their IT and it not being compatible, and Control-Alt-Delete just didn't work for it, but it meant they couldn't do any running. Today they got out and did 14 laps in the first couple of hours, 2.5 hours, and then had to stop again. They said, but that's what we want. We want to get out there and we want to find problems. By getting mileage in the car, if we then get an issue, we can fix that. better to fix it here than by the time we get to Melbourne. So the reason that they want to put laps in these teams is so that if there are issues in the car, they can fix them and then look at performance as we get towards Melbourne and the 6 days of testing that are left after today.
When we look at that then, I mean, one team that certainly put a lot of laps and miles in, Mercedes, but 2 stops for Nico Rosberg today. What are they down to, do you know?
Yeah, crisis. Nico Rosberg stopped twice. It's a sensor issue on both occasions. He'd gone out there and he was getting the laps in, and then something wasn't quite right in the telemetry and the data. A sensor was flagging up a problem. So what the teams do is they hit the kill switch instantly and switch everything down and then come back into the garage and find out exactly what that problem is. And in this occasion, and both occasions, it's a sensor issue. So there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the car. It's just a bit frustrating for them. What you often see is that if cars have been out on the track for 15, 20 laps, say, as was the case with Nico Rosberg, with 15 or so laps, it's not normally a mechanical problem. It's something that can be easily fixed. So the team are keeping their fingers crossed that they don't get any more red flags. It is frustrating, but it's no major drama. It's not like the guys at Red Bull behind us here who are still feeling their way through testing. The headline for them is they've done more laps today than they did in the entire Jerez test. Well, hey, this is brilliant for Red Bull. But if you listen very carefully outside of their garage, you can still hear the dentist drill. You can still hear an awful lot of work going on that car as they try to fit everything together to optimise the cooling package, to get performance and to get back out on the track again. The one thing I would say about Red Bull today is that on medium tyres, Sebastian Vettel was going around in the low 140s. That's not an outstanding time, but the point they're at this test so far, that's actually not bad for them.
Well, also, of course, we have to say that Red Bull and most of the teams not running to full power at the moment. We're hearing some of the Renault teams that not only not full power, only running about 50% right now. So plenty more still to come, and we'll be talking to some more of the drivers, including Fernando Alonso here in Bahrain this afternoon.
Also another day of testing in Bahrain, and things are going slightly better for Red Bull. Sebastian Vettel managed 34 laps this morning, and he's 6th fastest so far. Force India's Nico Hülkenberg is top of the timesheets, followed by Nico Rosberg in the Mercedes. Rachel Brooks is there for us.
Yes, welcome back to a breezy day now in Bahrain, but still warm and sunny here, which is what the teams want to get all their running under their belts. I'm very pleased to say I'm joined now by the new racing director at McLaren, Eric Boulier. Eric, you've moved a couple of doors down in the paddock, but you've joined McLaren after a really tough season. How have you found things so far?
Great, to be honest. It's true that obviously morale may be down a little bit because of last year's results, but there is a lot of competitiveness behind, let's say, the door of McLaren, and everybody is very, very eager to recover and get back.
The title is racing director. Is that essentially a team principal role?
Yeah, it is definitely a team principal role on track, and let's say off track, I have to focus more on the performance of the team.
And in terms of, we're waiting to hear a new McLaren Racing CEO appointed. How will that work in with your structure, your role?
I think it's just, I mean, time I've, let's say, changed and moved a little bit forward, and you cannot have a team principal acting in a sole role today. I think the teams now are getting bigger, and you have to share a little bit the responsibilities of your organization to make sure you deliver the best out of it. And this is why I've been discussing and what Ron wanted to put on the table.
You mentioned Ron Dennis there. Will we see Ron at races, do you think, this year?
Yeah, I hope so, actually. He's very welcome. He's a group CEO and obviously chairman and owner of the company, so I think it's great to have his support back at the track.
Have you had a relationship with him before, or is it purely since you've joined McLaren?
No, to be honest, I mean, the first time I met him was when I joined McLaren. Yeah.
And what do you make of him?
I mean, he's obviously a great character, and I think he's a needed figure in the McLaren today and in his paddock. So it's with a great motivation, and he's pushing hard, and I think he's driving us where we should be.
In terms of that, I mean, the car seems to have been going pretty well so far in testing. Are you where you want to be at this stage of testing?
I think if I would say yes, I would lie, because we can't be always happy. Actually, this morning we got stuck in the garage a little bit too long, but I have to say we have to be happy with the reliability of the car, and obviously Mercedes did a very good job. Obviously, we are now looking for more mileage.
Two drivers to get to know in Jenson and Kevin. How impressed have you been with Kevin so far? He's got a lot of people talking about him in the paddock.
Yeah, he's a new figure, so everybody is looking at his doing. He's very consistent. He's faster one lap. He's, I have to say, his integration or he's letting well into the team, and clearly he's one of the kids we need to watch for the future.
And in terms of your role this season, have you been set a target by Ron or by the team or by the board for this season for McLaren?
There is only one target which we would accept, obviously, is to fight for the win and the championship win. So we will do our best to recover.
From what you've seen, have you got a car that could do that?
It's too early days, obviously. Testing is about to test first. I think everybody is not bringing his whole package yet, and we definitely have not. So let's put the cars in gear first and make it work, and we'll see.
Great. Eric, thanks very much for joining us. Nice to see you back in the paddock once more, and we'll be keeping up to date with how McLaren get on today. Kevin Magnussen in the car today, and Jenson Button will be in the car tomorrow.
All right, just a reminder for you that you can keep across all the... All right, now to another day of testing in Bahrain ahead of the new Formula One season. Rachel Brooks is there for us. Rachel, just give us remind us of the headlines on this second day of testing, if you can.
Well, yes, Kate, it seems to be the Mercedes-powered cars are still having the best of it, although today the Renault-powered cars do seem to have been able to get some laps in, get some reliability into those 2014 cars, albeit a little bit late on into this pre-season test. Now, we saw the McLaren. Kevin Magnussen is driving that today for McLaren, the new driver in that team, and we can have a look at him on track today, but he has posted the fastest time of the day so far in that car. He's looked quick for quite a while now in Jerez and now here in Bahrain. Also, Nico Hülkenberg keeping top of the timesheets for a while as well, looking very good in the Force India, and the Force India went well yesterday as well, so it's looking like a good test for Force India, and they could be up there and scoring plenty of points this season to come, although it is still early days. And also elsewhere, Nico Rosberg in the Mercedes. We've seen how well Mercedes have been doing. He had a couple of red flags this morning for minor issues that were solved pretty quickly, sensor issues on that car, but so far they seem to have had a pretty good afternoon's running in that Mercedes too. Now, earlier on I spoke to the new racing director at the McLaren Formula One team, replacing Martin Whitmarsh. Eric Boulier has come in from Lotus. He is now McLaren's racing director, and he told me although the car is performing well here, as well as his drivers are performing well here, it's very early in the season. It's too early to tell just yet who is going to come out on top.
There is only one target which we would accept, obviously, is to fight for the win and the championship win. So we will do our best to recover.
From what you've seen, have you got a car that could do that?
It's too early days, obviously. Testing is about to test first. I think everybody is not bringing his whole package yet, and we definitely have not. So let's put the cars in gear first and make it work, and we'll see.
Well, the next best team after those Mercedes-powered cars is the Ferrari, and we'll be speaking to Fernando Alonso later to find out what he makes of his 2014 Challenger.
All right,
thanks,
Rachel.
Rachel.
Thank you.
Cheers. Now, testing continues in Bahrain ahead of the new Formula One season, and it's the Mercedes-powered cars that are performing the best. McLaren's Kevin Magnussen set the fastest time out on the track today, but his boss is not getting too carried away at the moment. McLaren racing director Eric Boulier spoke to Rachel Brooks earlier.
There is only one target which we would accept, obviously, is to fight for the win and the championship win. So we will do our best to recover.
From what you've seen, have you got a car that could do that?
It's too early days, obviously. Testing is about to test first. I think everybody is not bringing his whole package yet, and we definitely have not. So let's put the cars in gear first and make it work, and we'll see.
The Force India is also powered by the Mercedes engine, and Nico Hülkenberg was second quickest today. He was pleased afterwards and says they're learning every lap. So Mercedes engines doing well, Ferrari as well. Fernando Alonso was the third fastest on the track today. We can go back and hear from Rachel Brooks.
Well, welcome back to the paddock here in Bahrain. We've got a little shade under this palm tree behind us, but I'm very pleased to say I'm joined by Pat Simmons now from Williams Formula One team. And Pat, Valtteri's been putting in some good times today. How's testing been going so far for you?
Well, it's a bit curate's egg. Yesterday was about as bad as it comes. We managed sort of 5 installation laps, and had a very testing day. But today, absolutely on plan. We've got a lot of laps in. Car's going well. We're we're learning a lot. We're doing exactly what we're here to do.
In terms of yesterday's issue, a fuel pickup issue or a fuel issue in the car, but as a result, you have to take the power unit out in these new cars. Is it the way they're so complex under the hood this year? Do you envisage any problems in terms of, say, a team has a problem like yours in third practice, that you could miss the start of qualifying? Is this a concern at the moment?
Yeah, possibly. They certainly are complex, and I think, you know, you sort of get your analytical head on, and a lot of that's based on the sort of logic that you've used for years of how to fix problems and things. And you've got to think slightly differently. And yesterday was a classic example of that, where we had a fuel system problem, but in reality, very, very, very late last night, we actually found it wasn't a fuel system problem per se, it was actually a wiring problem. But that's how complex these things are to analyse sometimes, even with the vast amounts of data that we have. Yeah, there'll be a few hiccups along the way, I'm sure, but you know, that's just part of the game.
In terms of your engine this year, powered by the Mercedes, which seems to be doing pretty well up and down the paddock now, cars powered by the Mercedes engine, looks like an inspired decision by Williams. Yeah,
we're very, very pleased with the power unit. It's a real quality product. It's running reliably. It's running powerfully. It's a good power unit to drive with. So yeah, really very little to say other than heaps of praise.
How much does that help a team then in situations like this? We've seen the Renault teams, the teams powered by Renault, struggling in terms of once you get the reliability, then you can test everything else. You're able to test the other components that you want to test right now. How much does it help you take a step forward ahead of your rivals?
Well, it's fundamental. You know, you come to these pre-season tests and the first thing you do is you get the reliability, because you've got to find out what it is that's going to bite you. And only when you've got that do you really start working on performance. And I think for all of us, all the teams really, we were regarding Jerez as a sort of extended shakedown, you know, to really just try and get on top of the systems, understand how the cars worked, and get those miles in to see what it was, what little things are going to trip us up. Even at this second test, I think there's still quite an element of that from most of the teams, but we're not getting through things, and it is so important. You know, these days we continually update the cars, and it's now quite typical that it's not until the last test that you see the cars in their final performance configuration, because, you know, the wind tunnels are still working, production is still working, and really even this week it's a little bit of a mixture as we transition in from the sort of reliability to the performance phase, and we really start extending the cars a little bit in the next test.
And in terms of updates, you've got a new driver to the team as well, Felipe Massa, bringing with him plenty of experience. What's it like to have someone like him on board now, William?
Yeah, really good. He's just slotted into the team like he's been here forever. I think with Valtteri, you know, he is just going to suck up that sort of experience, and he's going to learn from it. And I really think we've got a great combination. For where Williams are at the moment, it just couldn't be better.
Right, well, thanks very much. Good to hear, Pat. We will hopefully speak to you again at the final test before we head off to Melbourne, but thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Pat Simmons from the Williams Formula One team here as they continue to go well in this test here at the Bahrain International Circuit.
Now, Red Bull enjoyed a better day of testing today. Sebastian Vettel completed 59 laps in Bahrain. They'd only managed 24 laps in the previous 5 days of testing. And the world champion was 7th quickest overall. But he was more than 5 seconds slower than the fastest driver, McLaren's rookie Kevin Magnussen. We spoke to his boss, the McLaren racing director, Eric Boulier.
There is only one target which we will accept, obviously, is to fight for the win and the championship win. So we will do our best to recover.
From what you've seen, have you got a car that could do that?
It's too early days, obviously. Testing is about to test first. I think everybody is not bringing his whole package yet, and we definitely have not. So let's put the cars in gear first and make it work, and we'll see.
It's definitely the Mercedes-powered cars who are performing best. Force India's Nico Hülkenberg was 2nd quickest, behind Magnussen. And Ferrari are looking pretty good too. Fernando Alonso was the 3rd fastest on the track today. We will be hearing from him in the next hour. Well, Red Bull enjoyed a better day of testing today. Sebastian Vettel managed to complete 59 laps in Bahrain. They'd only managed 24 laps in the previous 5 days of testing. And the world champion was 7th quickest overall.
How do you feel yourself leaving it where you are at the moment, where the car is and the team is at the moment?
Well, to be honest, I think the last 2 days were very useful. Obviously, yeah, we did a lot more laps today than yesterday, and I hope that Daniel is able to do more laps tomorrow. There's a lot of stuff to do, as I said, just programming everything so that everything communicates to each other properly. The whole new power unit, in terms of car, we still have got some stuff to sort out. So yeah, both very busy from Red Bull side, but also from Renault side. So yeah, but that's that's good. We get some running and some more information, so we have more homework.
Well, he was more than 5 seconds slower than the fastest driver, who was McLaren's rookie Kevin Magnussen. Good signs for the team that failed to go onto the podium at all last season.
The car you're driving this year compared to last year's car, you look to be in a completely different place. Is the mood in the camp lifting as well now?
It's very early to say something like that. I think we are still learning a lot about the car and still have a lot to do. And we have 4 days more testing next week, and there'll be a lot of work done there, and I'm sure everything, all the way down the pit lane, everything will change a lot when we come to Australia. And from now on to Australia, a lot of things will change, so it's hard to say.
It's definitely the Mercedes-powered cars performing best. Force India's Nico Hülkenberg was 2nd quickest, behind Magnussen. And Ferrari are looking pretty good too. Fernando Alonso was the 3rd fastest on the track today. We will be hearing from him right now.
It's challenging, I think, for everyone, but we like that challenge, and we are working to get on top of the little issues that are happening. And the thing is that it's new in a way. It's not a mechanical new technology. There is not an aerodynamic issues. We are talking about computers, numbers, and electronics. So that we all experience in our home some things and some resets in our computers, etc., in our normal days. So imagine a Formula One car. So we are in that area at the moment.
Bernie Ecclestone has told Sky Sports News he welcomes the opportunity to go to Germany to fight bribery charges after winning his multi-million-pound High Court battle with Konstantin Median. The German media rights company claimed Ecclestone had entered into a corrupt agreement to undervalue Formula One when it was sold in 2006, a valuation which cost them a bonus payment. Well, Justice Newey dismissed the claims, saying it had been no part of Mr Ecclestone's purpose for shares to be sold at an undervalue.
Now, lawyers had told me they didn't understand why the case was actually been brought and why it was being heard. So they were, but I suppose they were my lawyers, so I suppose they should have been confident. But I could imagine perhaps the other people's lawyers were also confident they were going to win, otherwise they wouldn't. Although they had tried many, many times to settle the case.
How does this bode for the case which is still pending in Munich? What do the findings mean?
I don't know, to be honest with you, because there's two different things. The case in Munich now has changed. I want to get in court and get this out of the way, because it's not the sort of thing you want hanging around, people accusing you of something you haven't done.
Do you think you will have to go to court now?
100%. No, it's all been scheduled to go to court, so I will be. I wanted to go into court.
Is there not an option for you to pay some kind of compensation?
Of compensation to who? Well, I haven't discussed about paying money. I don't think it works like that.
But in German law, I think it is possible to do that, as I understand it, if in a case such as this. I suppose it would mean admitting some kind of wrongdoing, which you don't want to do.
No, I think people have got half the stories and never got the whole story. Anyway, we'll see. So we're being caught.
So to F1 then, and Kevin Magnussen continued McLaren's resurgence, finishing top of the timesheets on day 2 of pre-season testing in Bahrain. Mercedes power units have worked well so far, and that continued with the Dane setting a best time of 1 minute 34.9 seconds, just over a second slower than McLaren's best qualifying time in Bahrain last season. Magnussen was 1.5 seconds quicker than next best Nico Hülkenberg, and new McLaren race director Eric Boulier says the team are targeting race wins this season.
we are still learning a lot about the car and still have a lot to do. And you know, we have 4 days more testing next week, and there'll be a lot of work done there. And I'm sure everything, all the way down the pit lane, everything will change a lot when we come to Australia.
There's only one target which we will accept, obviously, is to fight for the win and the championship win. So we will do our best to recover.
From what you've seen, have you got a car that could do that?
It's too early days, obviously. Testing is about to test first. I think everybody is not bringing his whole package yet, and we definitely have not. So let's put the cars in gear first and make it work, and we'll see.
Finally, some good news for Red Bull. The world champions completed 58 laps. That's more than in the 5 previous days of testing combined. And the fastest time for Sebastian Vettel was over 5 seconds slower than Magnussen, but the team's Renault power unit is not being run at full power.
That's encouraging. Good to check the car, good to check the reliability, but surely there's a lot of stuff still to do. But it was good to get a first feel. Car feels all right, but surely, you know, there's a lot more to come. Hopefully, if everything fits together.
How much do you think you have caught up, or have you caught up at all, do you think?
Well, it's difficult to say, to talk about catching up, because I don't know what the other people are doing, but yeah, we obviously did more laps today than so far the whole year, which is a step forward.
Nico Rosberg took over driving duties from Lewis Hamilton for Mercedes on day 2. He stopped on track twice early on with a sensor issue, but managed to complete 84 laps and finished in 4th. Despite the early troubles for Rosberg, Sky Sports pundit David Croft says it won't cause them too much concern. More from David a little bit later. Meanwhile, Force India could prove to be the dark horses in 2014. Nico Hülkenberg was fastest on day 1 and second fastest today. The German completed 59 laps. Fernando Alonso enjoyed another good day too. The Ferrari completed 96 laps of running, and on the faster soft tyres managed to split the Mercedes-powered cars, finishing 3rd fastest.
I think it will be extremely tough for everyone to know and to have an idea of what it can happen in Australia in the first couple of races. Our target should be to finish the race. If we finish the race in the 3 or 4 first Grand Prix, I think that automatically means a good result, because not many teams may finish, and that is challenging. It seems easy, but it's challenging.
Well, a fuel system problem meant Williams only had 5 laps of running on day 1, but after fixing the issue, Valtteri Bottas managed 116 laps on day 2, more than anyone else on a single day of testing this season. What about Lotus? It was another difficult day for them. They only managed 18 laps following 8 laps yesterday. They've both the fewest laps of any team in pre-season testing so far. So, Magnussen was fastest and well ahead of Nico Hülkenberg. Fernando Alonso 3rd fastest, ahead of Nico Rosberg, with Red Bull and Sebastian Vettel 7th fastest, but over 5 seconds behind. Romain Grosjean was 2nd slowest. Max Chilton was last.
Red Bull has staged a minor recovery on day 2 of pre-season testing in Bahrain. Sebastian Vettel enjoyed trouble-free running, racking up 59 laps, more than double his total for the 3 previous test days put together. McLaren rookie Kevin Magnussen topped the time sheet, and his boss, ex-Lotus team principal Eric Boulier, says the Woking-based team can mount a world title challenge.
If it still seems strange to see Eric Boulier in McLaren silver, he settled in quickly to a management structure that's seen him effectively replace Martin Whitmarsh, albeit in the new role of racing director, working under Ron Dennis. What do you make of him?
I mean, he's obviously a great character, and I think he's a needed figure in the McLaren today and in his paddock.
Will we see Ron at races, do you think, this year?
Yeah, I hope so, actually. He's very welcome. And he's a group CEO and obviously chairman and owner of the company, so I think it's great to have his support back at the track.
Boulier's been recruited after McLaren's worst season since 1980, the last time they failed to make a single podium. Have you been set a target by Ron or by the team or by the board for this season for McLaren?
There is only one target, which we will accept, obviously, is to fight for the win and the championship win. So we will do our best to recover.
McLaren's innovative suspension may give them an edge. But will a Mercedes engine be this year's platform for success? The works car, here driven by Nico Rosberg again, displayed rock-solid reliability. Customers, including Force India and Williams, joined him in the timesheet's top 5, in which Ferrari were the only non-Mercedes-powered team. Fernando Alonso still a second and a half off Kevin Magnussen's pace.
We are still learning a lot about the car and still have a lot to do. And you know, we have 4 days more testing next week, and there'll be a lot of work done there. And I'm sure everything, all the way down the pit lane, everything will change a lot when we come to Australia.
Meanwhile, Red Bull had a trouble-free day. Sebastian Vettel racked up 59 laps, more than double the total he'd managed during 3 previous test days. Still, there's catching up to do. New rules, new cars, and for one team at least, a new racing director. But could there be a new name on the driver's trophy? Red Bull have just 6 days testing left to make up lost ground. Rachel Brooks, Sky Sports, Bahrain.
Bath